2,000 years, one river, one city that changed the world more than any other. This is not just the story of Paris, it is the story of freedom itself. Welcome to City Origins. After defeating the Parisi, Caesar's Romans built a new city on the scene, Lutetia. They imposed their grid, their baths, their language. The Parisi lost their freedom. But from their ashes, one of the greatest cities in history would grow. The Romans called it Lutetia. We call it Paris. In 1163, Paris began building Notre-Dame, a cathedral so ambitious it would take 200 years to complete. The flying buttresses were an engineering revolution. The rose windows filled it with colored light like nowhere else on Earth. Medieval Paris was reaching for heaven, and for 8 centuries, Notre-Dame would be the heart of this city, through plague, revolution, fire, and war. In 1348, the Black Death arrived in Paris. Within 2 years, it had killed half the population, 50,000 people. The Champ de Mars, where tournaments had roared with life, became a field of mass graves. Notre-Dame's bells never stopped tolling. Paris, the greatest city in Europe, had been brought to its knees by something invisible. The plague would return 7 more times. Freedom from fear seemed impossible. In 1429, a 17-year-old girl from Lorraine named Joan of Arc told the French Dauphin that God had commanded her to drive out the English. Against all logic, he gave her an army. Against all odds, she broke the siege of Orléans and led France to a series of stunning victories. The 100 Years' War would not end for another 24 years, and Joan herself would be burned at the stake by the English. But she had given France back the belief that freedom was worth fighting for. On the night of August 23, 1572, Catholic mobs began systematically killing Protestant Huguenots throughout Paris. The church bells were the signal. Within 3 days, perhaps 3,000 were murdered in Paris alone, tens of thousands across France. Bodies filled the scene. It was the worst act of religious violence in French history, and it planted seeds of revolution that would flower 2 centuries later. On July 14, 1789, the people of Paris stormed the Bastille. What followed was the most consequential revolution in modern history. The Declaration of the Rights of Man proclaimed that all people are born free and equal. The king was executed. A republic was born. And then the revolution devoured itself. But the idea, liberty, equality, fraternity, had been released into the world. It could never be put back. In March 1871, after the Prussian siege ended, the workers of Paris seized the city and proclaimed the Commune the first working-class government in history. For 72 days, Paris governed itself. Then the Versailles government sent the army. In 1 week, perhaps 20,000 communards were killed. The idea of workers' freedom it represented has never died. On March the 31st, 1889, the centenary of the French Revolution, Gustave Eiffel raised the French flag from the top of his completed iron tower. Critics had called it an eyesore. Eiffel ignored them. This tower was built to prove that France was still a nation of radical ideas. A structure built from nothing but mathematics and iron that touched the sky, rising over the same river you have been watching for 2,000 years. In September 1914, German forces advanced to within 30 miles of Paris. The government fled to Bordeaux. The city prepared for occupation. Then, the miracle of the Marne. 600 Paris taxis rushed reinforcements to the front. The Eiffel Tower's radio antenna intercepted crucial German signals. Paris was saved. The war would grind on for 4 more years, killing 1.4 million French soldiers. But Paris survived. It always survived. On August the 25th, 1944, Paris was liberated. De Gaulle walked down the Champs-Élysées as 2 million people lined the streets. Snipers were still firing. He walked anyway. The tricolor flew from the Eiffel Tower for the first time in 4 years. The city that gave the world the idea of liberty had reclaimed it for itself. Paris would never forget again. In May 1968, Paris exploded. Students built barricades from Haussmann's own paving stones. "10 million workers went on strike. De Gaulle briefly fled the country. The revolution failed to overthrow the government, but it changed everything else. Paris had done it again, given the world a new idea of freedom. From a Celtic island in a river to the capital of human freedom, Paris has been conquered, plagued, massacred, besieged, revolutionized, occupied, and liberated. It has burned and flooded. It has executed its kings and mourned its cathedral. And through everything, it has remained the city the world comes to when it wants to remember what it means to be alive, to be free, to be human. This is Paris, and it will always be Paris.